I think Frames has been a voice of the industry in terms of the challenges that the industry faces and what are the issues and how do we address them. Also, it's becoming a place where people want to listen, talk about the success stories, the issues and the challenges that the industry is facing. Also, one of the things that we've been doing is through the Frames initiative. We've been lobbying with the government on some of the problems that we've had. We've been fairly working very close with the Information and Broadcasting Ministry, trying to fix issues like co-production treaties, look for certain tax incentives. So these are things that we've spoken to the Information Broadcasting Minister, Madam Ambika Soni. We had a couple of meetings. We're also trying to, through the Frames initiative, look at addressing education also as a larger initiative. And I guess you will see a reflection of some of these things in some of the panels that are happening around Frames as well. I think what has happened is in the animation sector, the first wave of pure outsourcing I would say, is more or less over, and I think we need to move up the value chain. I think as Graffiti, we've always believed in creating original IP, and I think our experience has been very good. In fact, one of our shows, Krishish Baltiboy, is already on air with Cartoon Network. It's doing extremely well. It's rated very well. We've already extended, the licensing period with Cartoon Network, and some new fresh IPs we've been creating, so there's been interest. So I think that overall I see that the broadcasters are now more open, to looking at original IP, which is coming from Indian studios. I think the mindset was very different about 5-6 years back, where the uptake was very, very low. So I think that clearly is a change that is happening. And then also the other thing is that as Indian producers, we need to look at how we can produce IPs which are much more global in nature, or you can monetize your IP beyond just India, because I think it is a challenge today to produce any kind of a decent quality animation show and just expect to recover only from India. And I think that's where the problem lies, because you in order to just trying to recover from India, you subsidize or you cut down your production cost, and ultimately you end up with a product which barely manages to be sold in India but has no potential outside.
What are the 3 things you think the government could do? Because we are not asking money, we are only asking for facilitation, and unlike other European countries where the entire money is powered by the government, or some amount of money is powered by, what is it that 2 or 3 things that the government could do to
Right. I think like I said, we've already been working with the INB Ministry, but what we've asked for is, number one is to push the co-production treaties with countries, which are, I would say, fairly advanced animation economies such as France, Canada, UK. And between France and Canada, they are the largest, growing animation economy today. So I think it will definitely serve the Indian industry if we can have co-production treaties with these countries. That's one. Secondly, I think what has really worked in other countries like Canada and France, has been the fact that the government sets up funds, where the producers can tap into, and which is basically recoupable. So once the producer makes his money, he then returns the money back to the fund. So I think that's the other thing that we've requested. And the third thing is, which again is that, certain amount of content which is produced in India, right now, what happens is that there is no commitment from broadcasters here, that a certain amount of content they will pick up will be from the local market. Like if you go to France or Canada, as an Indian producer, when you pitch to them, they will very clearly tell you that please work with a French producer or a Canadian producer, because a French broadcaster will be more than happy to pick up a production which is Indo-French, because then the French broadcaster is able to fulfill his local commitments to local partners. I think we need a very similar framework here, so that what happens that basically it promotes animation here, and it also helps producers to make sure that their IP is getting monetized in India as well. So I think that is very much needed. Also, Doordarshan, right now is an untapped area in terms of animation. I mean, despite being the national broadcaster, we don't have a single, DD Kids.
it should start with creating a band so that other broadcasters...
Yes, I think at a minimum, which is what we've been speaking, we've spoken to the various officials in the INB ministry, and they're very, very receptive to the idea. We've suggested that they should look at the DD Kids, and they haven't said no. So I think that's a good start. that at least they're considering it. And I think one needs to practice what you preach. So as Information Broadcasting Ministry, if we are encouraging other broadcasters that they must pick up certain amount of content from India, then I think Doordarshan can start by setting an example.
Finally, you are also part of the FICCI animation forum.
Right.
Next year, before we meet, do you think that we should do at least 3 things so that when we meet next time, that we could do it?
Yeah, I think hopefully by next year we would have announced the Indo-Canadian Coproduction Treaty. We've been working very hard, with the officials in the ministry as well as with the Canadian partners. So I think that's something which will come up with the interactions between Indian and Canadian producers here. It's something that we've been lobbying very hard for, and I can tell you that we are very close. In fact, you can expect an announcement probably sometime in June on it.
During IFA?
Yes.
Thanks so much.
Right.